Hey YouTube, Ron here with an RS update. So I started getting a little misfire in the last few pulls. These plugs have got about 14,000 miles on them. So I wanted to show you guys what they look like. So this was the spark plug after seeing about, again, 13,000, almost 14,000 miles worth of a E85 at 500 plus horsepower, what they look like. So they actually look pretty good. I'm actually going to show you guys how I changed one plug. I've got one left, so I've already done plugs 4, 3, and 2. So I'm going to do cylinder 1 now. So I'll show you guys how I go about doing that. So I mean, it's pretty simple. You need an 8mm that holds the igniter in. So you just crack that loose. Comes right out. Kind of like this. So you have your long 8mm bolt, set that aside somewhere safe. And then, just gonna stop dropping stuff. And then, so we take off the loop wiring loom, we disconnect it, so pull that. That comes out really easy, and then twist, and out you go. So that's the igniter for cylinder 1. I'll get my plug wrench, or plug socket rather. And use a long extension. We'll crack that guy loose. So get it seated on the plug. Good. And then just a little twist and there we go. Get the rest of it out by hand. So these were all these plugs were gapped to 26,000 when they were first put in. I'm running the E85 the Denso E85 so you can kind of see. These are the guys that I'm using. Denso E85s. And this is cylinder 1. So you can see the cylinder 1 looks pretty good. I mean, it doesn't look too lean or too rich. Actually looks pretty happy. Let's check the gap on it. Again, this guy was set to 26,000s. Initially, all of them have been like 32 plus, so they've opened up quite a bit. So if I take the biggest on my feeler gauge here, so 32 thou, let's see if that goes in. It doesn't, so this guy's actually maintained a bit more of his gap than the other ones did. So we'll go down, let's try 30. No, 28. Yeah, so 28 goes in. So this guy, so cylinder 1 was the best behaved out of all of them. Cylinder 1 opened up the least. So again, these are all gapped. All 4 of these were gapped at 26,000s initially. Cylinder 1's now at 28,000 after, again, 14,000 miles or so. And then the rest of these were at like 32 plus. So cylinders 2, 3, and 4, the plugs, those opened up quite a bit more than cylinder 1 did over time. So it just goes to show, right? The gap you set, they don't hold. So which again, and as you're running more power, I mean, what you find is you whereas on a stock car, you could probably go 20, 30, 40,000 miles even longer without changing plugs. Once you start turning the power up, it makes sense to check your plugs every 15,000 miles or so. I mean, 10, 15,000 miles is probably not a bad idea. Just to, I mean, that's a pretty big change, and that explains cylinders 2, 3, and 4 explains why occasionally, not very often, but occasionally when I'd be making a pull, I would get a misfire, and because I mean, there's just too much gap there. So I'll show you guys how I put the last one in. So I pull this guy out, and these guys have already pre-gapped to 24,000. I actually went in a little bit on the gap on these. I mean, a lot of tuners will start at 26 thou and run that gap for like a full bolt-on, maybe E30 RS. Because I'm running a lot more power, I'm running fully 85, and the engine's making well over 500 wheel horsepower. I went on the gap just a little bit to see what difference that makes. I mean, if it doesn't work, I'll go out, but I mean, 24,000 is where these guys should be. So let me check it. I already pre-gapped the other ones, and this one I also gapped already too. Let's check here and see what we got. So 24. Yeah, you see that slides in there nicely. So it's 24 thousandths is what I'm at. If I try and go to 25, no cigar, right? Doesn't go. Yeah, so 24 thousandths is where this guy sits. So these are all at 24, so we'll throw this last guy in. It's kind of seated so it doesn't fall. And you want to be careful whenever you're dropping this in. Don't just drop the plug in, because the last thing you want is to bang the electrode on the side of the cylinder, like the head as you're going in, and close that gap up. So make sure you kind of feed it down there, nice and centered, kind of like that. And then once you think you have it, just begin turning it. Thread that guy in. And these don't have to be really, really tight. Most people over tighten their plugs. I don't really use a torque wrench on mine, but I can show you what I do. I mean, once it stops turning, yeah, so once it stops turning, I just snug it, and that's it. That's all. I mean, you really don't need to crank these down tight, so that's it. That's all I do. And then we'll work this guy off, get the socket wrench out, plug wrench out. There we go, and then we just reverse the process. So the igniter goes back on. So you see they're all labeled 1, 2, 3, and 4. I don't know if that really makes a difference, but they were labeled. Whenever the shop that did the engine swap for me pulled them out, they labeled them. So I don't know if that makes a difference. I don't think it does, but you know, igniter 1 always goes back into cylinder 1. So anyway, the way I do this is you can just push straight down. What I tend to do is when it sits in the engine, it sits like that. So the bolt that holds the coil in place is right there. So I tend to like to put it down like this so I can kind of rotate it a little bit. Make sure you have a good connection on there, just make sure it's seated nicely versus just pushing straight down. I don't know that it makes a difference, but it's just my technique. So again, this guy goes in like so, push it down. And rotate it on in place. I think that's pretty good. Yeah, that's good. Check, give it a little tug. Nope, that's good. That's seated nicely. All right, so then the last one for cylinder 1, this guy has like a stop on it for the wiring loom to kind of hold on to. You see the little stud. So again, this is an 8mm. So we will use this. Pull the socket off. And then I will throw this guy in. Again, this is another one. You don't need to crank these down tight. I mean, they just doesn't take very much. So it's on there, in place, and just a little snug. That's it. That's all you need. Same thing. This guy goes on, goes back to stop that holds the wiring loom in place. So that's set, and then the connection. So super easy. Really, the only thing I didn't show you guys was pulling off the intake. You do have to remove the intake to get to coil number 4. I'm not going to show putting that back on because it's pretty self-explanatory. But it's just I do them one at a time. So 4, 3, 2, 1 from the hardest to the easiest, and that's it. So that's how you do plugs, and it's a good thing for you guys to check out. So I mean, these plugs, if you come in, these guys actually look pretty healthy in my opinion for given the mileage and the power level they've been run at. They look pretty happy, nothing too rich, nothing too lean. So I think those are, shows the tune. The tune is about where it needs to be. Only thing that really hurts it is just the gap opening up over time, right? So there you go. So hope you guys enjoyed this. I will finish buttoning it up. I mean, I'll show you guys putting that back on. I mean, it's nothing to it, but this guy simply just goes, feed it in, like so. And don't forget, there's a stud, there's a one bolt that holds this in place. So again, my manifold, because this is kind of like a Frankenstein intake manifold, this is like the biggest, I think this is a K&N I got, the biggest K&N I could find. The only thing that really holds it in place is just that one stud. So it just kind of goes in, rotate down, and then I make sure it lines up nice and easily. And then I'll put this bolt in, which is 10mm, that holds that in place. And I'll crank this clamp down, and away we go. So hope you guys enjoyed this. I'm sure you guys have done plugs before, but I figured I would show you one, if you've never done plugs, how you could do it, and then also what a set of plugs in a 500 plus wheel horsepower RS look like after 14,000 miles of use. So hope you guys found this useful. Thanks so much for watching. Please like, share, comment, subscribe, and if you have any questions, please leave them below. I'm gonna finish putting this back together, start it up, take it for a quick drive, make sure everything is good, and that'll be it. Thanks again. Okay guys, so it's back together. We're just about buttoned up. I just gotta plug in air temp sensor. I think that's it. So let's fire it up and see how she does. Pretty smooth as a kitten. You can see that's RPM's dead nuts. It's relaxing pretty nicely. So cool. As you guys can see, I've got E42 in here right now. Every I don't know, every probably 10 tanks or so, once every 2 months typically is when I do it. I will run the gas down to about halfway and then fill it up with 93 just to change it up. You know, so yesterday I was coming back from picking my daughter up from college, who's the camera person, and I figured, why not? Let's fill it up with 93 and see how it does. So that's why you're seeing E42 in the car right now. But yeah, smooth. There you go. So hopefully you guys found this useful. If you've never changed your spark plugs before, you can duplicate what I did with cylinder 1 to do yours. And thanks so much for watching. See you next time.